25, and it is entitled A Nocturne of Omissions, Reverie. And yes, the title's a play on words. Um, there's nothing, sexual about it. Um, well, 25 or 26, there's nothing sexualized about them whatsoever, but I thought it was a nice little play on words, being a nocturne of sorts and being about things being omitted, so to speak, abstractly speaking. Um, First, beers with Ben. We've got New Belgium's Triple. It's a Belgium style beer. Um, it's I wouldn't say it's light. It's kind of a medium body, caramel kind of aftertaste to it, at least to me. Um, Pretty good stuff. So look for it in your stores, I guess, wherever you go and buy beer. Yeah. So this is a 7 song album. I figured at first, oh, it'll be an EP, but the run time's 40 some minutes, so I guess it's technically a full album. Um, the first, I guess, 4 tracks really to me are a little more specific, whereas like the backside of this album is more topical and kind of general, um, not as specific in events or anything like that. It's more or less to me statements of my attitudes after my mentor's passing, and then also, with, I guess, the woman I hoped to marry at the time. And like I've said before, is not specifically about them, but is more or less about like my feelings in dealing with those situations. Um, so yeah, this song in particular is more general to specific feelings and attitudes, and really kind of is in play for the next year or two after my mentor's passing. So one of the things that I want to point out is that this song definitely has a completely different tone from the rest of the album, musically speaking. And I mean, there's plenty of songs on Volume 1 that this could, sonically sound similar. But when it comes to this album, it kind of stands apart, and um, I wanted it to be very dreamlike because it's a dream song. Um, so I, for example, decided to have this like ambient guitar line playing through the entire song, which isn't that out of the ordinary for songs that I write, but something about this ambient guitar part through the entire song sonically sounds different from anything I've really written before or since then. And I don't know why. Um, it, I guess, has to do with the particular effects chains that I was using, but even still, I think I've used similar chains in other songs before, yet something about this one, and maybe it has to do with the mixing of it as well, it just it sounds different. It has more of a classic rock sort of sound, to the extent of um, it reminds me of the Moody Blues, and I'm not even a big Moody Blues fan. You know, there's maybe like 4 or 5 songs of theirs that I'm like, those are great songs, but I've never really taken the time to listen through their catalog. Um, but for some reason in particular, that ambient part reminds me a lot of like the orchestral sections, um, playing kind of in the background in their song Nights in White Satin, or whatever it's called. Um, it just has that kind of feel to it, or maybe some of the orchestral work from what's his name, Phil Spector, I want to say, the whole like wall of sound sort of thing, from later Beatles records. That it's, and I guess it's because like whatever I did with this ambient guitar part is, I mean, there's the direct in for the my guitar and processor and stomp boxes and stuff like that. But I think I'm pretty sure that I used some sort of general reverb plugin that came with Studio One after that to really kind of make it more dreamlike in feel. So it really has that sort of mood, at least in my ears. But also, um, I got the idea from actually listening to old Led Zeppelin albums, um, for the feel as well. And I can't even remember which Zeppelin song it was. It's more of, I want to say, like a B-side maybe from Zeppelin 1, or I honestly don't know, maybe from even Zeppelin 3, some of the more folkish acoustic songs that they did, for sure, for certain. Um, but like I noticed, and it was after I recorded the acoustic guitar, which, I only own one acoustic guitar at this point, and it happens to be a 12 string because I just like the sound of 12 strings. Um, and I mic'd that 12 string guitar and recorded it, and afterwards, at some point listening to Zeppelin, I whatever song it was, I realized what was interesting to me was it was kind of a more hard pan, left sort of thing, and then they whoever mixed it, mastered it, whatever, produced it, um, did sort of like a hard pan right with the reverb. So it had this like left channel sort of, standard kind of clear feel, but then, the more ambient reverbs coming through the right channel, and yet somehow your brain sort of mixes the two together. I mean, there's clear distinction, obviously, but your brain mixes both together, and I was like, that's cool. I want to do that. And so it made sense to do for this song. Um, so those are the two things that I want to point out for sure. Um, the rough draft for this song also, like for the verses, had more left and right channel electric guitars going on, and they were fairly clean. But once I got into like doing the drums for this song, I realized that I needed to clear the verses a little more to just kind of open up the space, so to speak, and have less going on, less clutter. Uh, so that's also something that I guess I need to work on more, is opening up space more in my music. And I definitely, in coming up with the final product of this song, was very aware of that. So, as for what's going on in the literal story sense, um, so this song, well, the last song, he has this mental kind of breakdown sort of thing, and basically passes out. So this song literally is a dream sequence that he has directly after that. Um, and so, yeah, it's meant to have that sort of dreamlike quality sonically in the sound, but also, like, uh, I wouldn't say it's abstract lyrically whatsoever. It's, I think, a very straightforward song. There isn't really any like hidden meanings or anything. It's, hey, he's having this dream and series of different locations. So, it starts out with him in school, and then further on as like a teacher or professor in school, and also talks about him being like a watchman for his city, and instead of uh, going around with guns or whatever, that those turn into plumes, um, mightier than the sword, and um, goes into basically like he's well off financially, and has an honorable reputation. And then, like, halfway through the song, or not even halfway through the song, but um, sort of in the middle of the lyrics, I guess, uh, it goes from that sort of like professional career kind of oriented location, and moves into a beach scene where he's with his family and uh, closest friends. Family is in, like, he has a wife and children, and also his parents and I guess like siblings and stuff like that are around as well. And it's just a playful vacation beach scene, and that's really all that's going on there. So really, this song for me is representing all of my hopes and dreams, everything that is positive to aim for. So, you know, for me, I'm interested in dreams, not like necessarily for dream interpretations or meanings. I do think as a Christian that God gives us dreams, like literally, but also, dreams are psychologically based as well. Us, maybe it's part of memory formation while we're asleep, or our unconscious minds trying to grapple with hopes, dreams, fears, stuff like that, our feelings, just existence itself, trying to grapple with just, yeah, existence. Um, so I think it's both, and it's tough to discern at times which it is. Um, I can say that like this this dream, I've never had a dream exactly like this one per se. But I've had plenty of dreams where I'm back in school, whether it's high school or college, and there's definitely a surreal quality to those dreams, and this song definitely reflects that kind of surreal quality of blending different motifs into one. Um, but at the very foundation of it is using the dream as a motif to represent, be metaphor, illusion, whatever you want to call it, for these, desires that I have for my life, my future, my present, all of that. That, my education wasn't in vain, and that I've thought in the past, well, maybe I'll go into, some sort of collegiate profession as like a professor or whatever eventually. I don't know. Like, I'm not in a hurry at this point to do it. Maybe I should be, but I'm still trying to figure those things out. And so for me, it is a process. Um, but even still, there's a line in it that, you know, says like towards my inception, which inception is a reference to, the famous film, which is like one of my all-time, like top probably five favorite films. Christopher Nolan's just a genius. And I love that movie, but it is a weird word that he uses because, for the film and for, this idea of going into people's dreams, because the literal meaning of the word is basically it's like an English archaic definition or synonym rather for like having a school graduation. So I use it as like a nod towards that movie, but within the song literally refers to uh, like high school or college graduation, and going from cap and gown to exit in uniform, as I say. So like going from college or whatever into like an actual vocation, which in the story, uh, he was a soldier within the Lord's army. Um, and for me, like personally, being in security, it has that kind of personal connotation. And then like being a watchman, which has this like prophetic Old Testament, was that book of Jeremiah, I believe, sort of thing. But also literally, hey, I'm a night watchman as a third shift security guard, so it has that connotation to me as well. But within the story, a soldier, and that instead of just being a soldier of war, he becomes like academic, which for me, my writing and stuff is a big deal. Books I've written, uh, screenplays that I've written in the past, poetry, like all that stuff matters to me, and the idea of that people would study that my work in the future in a collegiate setting is something that I've always hoped for. Even if it's long after I'm dead, just the idea of having, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It's that time of the morning for me. Uh, but yeah, just having something long term that will outlast you. is something I've always wanted. And yet, through that art, through that creation, being able to like have a family and be financially secure. But also, hey, it's not about just having a fat bank account, but also as a Christian, those things being able to bring glory to God's name. While at the same time, having a good reputation and, my name being revered, across the planet, I don't think that's a bad thing to have. I think obviously if everything you do is controlled by that sort of thing, that can obviously be bad, but having a good reputation, obviously, I mean, that Proverbs deals with that subject. The Bible definitely deals with that. So, I mean, that's definitely a good thing. But then, going into this like vacation beach scene, is a testament to of like being financially stable to be able to do that sort of thing and bring your family along and bring your friends and just have a good time on the beach playing ball games and watching your kids wade in the surf and build sandcastles and blowing kisses to your wife. It's very cliche and all, yet a cliche has the power that it has because it's oftentimes something that we universally desire and feel within our hearts of having a good life and having success. And like a big portion of this song towards the end also deals with being respected and admired by like this fictitious wife that he has within the dream, that she sees him as being righteous and being a man of God and stuff like that. One of the phrases that I repeat like in this song in the next is the idea of life, love, and knowledge. These three things that are personally, I guess, important to me. And then at the end of the song, there's a line that says, while a radio croons to thank our lucky stars, which that the like star motif goes back. Well, it's a motif. To me, it was a callback to Volume 1. What was that? Chapter 3, I believe. What was the Armoire at Sea? Where, there's like a whole stanza in that song that talks about like looking up at the sky at night and seeing, the stars and them swallowing him whole and stuff like that. And even though this is like the beach and it's daytime, it's indirectly a reference to that, which that's going to come into play in the next song. But it served as a transition into the next song as well as a callback to Volume 1. But it was also, which there's a sound clip at the end that I manipulated and did some weird stuff with, but it was a 311 song, which I'm a big 311 fan, but it ties in with the radio, that the radio is playing music in the background. I manipulated that as a sound clip and to make something completely different. Not just like effects on the song, but like time stretch, different things, and just manipulated the actual song itself to kind of like make something new and something very dreamlike and abstract and like a Salvador Dali sort of painting kind of thing, Um, but it's definitely there consciously to usher in the next song, which we'll talk about tomorrow. But for now, if you're watching this and want to enjoy a beer, go for it. And that's simply number 25. Not much more to say about it, but I hope at least somebody out there enjoyed it, especially since it's the most non-abrasive song on the entire album.